We were told the world works a certain way. Chase success, play the game, follow the rules. But what if the game is rigged? What if your power was never really lost, just misplaced? Soul Capitalist isn't just a book, it's a wake-up call, a roadmap for reclaiming your power and rewriting your story on your own terms. Because changing the world doesn't start with a movement. It starts with you. It starts with creating a world that reflects your highest self. Soul Capitalist is a guide back to your truth, a call to awaken your inner power and lead from the light within. Soul Capitalist, how to take back your power and change the world. Available now on Amazon.
Welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the twinkling lightworkers and the innovative influencers of our time. I am Sensei Christopher, the Sensei to Sirius Joy, at your service. Basically a wizard that gets a kick out of seeing how other people's magic works. And so every week, we're going to make some mocktails and we're going to mingle. Tonight's guest is amazing. In fact, just a little backstory. In the last 2 years that Saturn was in Pisces, I've been stunned, literally, at the number of superb mediums and channels that have suddenly come out of the woodwork. And these aren't new. These are overnight successes of peers, but they've been working on it since they were a child or even younger. And some practitioners at this point can literally just sort of dial up any angel, any alien species, or any dead celebrity at a snap of a finger. And you are having a conversation with someone in another dimension with just brilliant transparency and also clarity as far as message. I mean, this is not your grandma's medium, folks. This is the new age 5D mediums that are here. And I'm so pleased to know that I am in the company of them because I've learned so much and I've never, had so many conversations with people who are in another entity or another dimension before. So it's pretty amazing. So tonight's guest is just blow your feet, off your feet, blow you off your feet, I think, when you sort of see the talent. But first, let's actually talk about our blessing and sponsor. This week, we are just a week away from Unite the Light, our Lightworkers Summit. Tonight's guest is going to be having a presence there, a big presence, but also we'd like to see yours. We still have tickets available, by the way. You can stream this. So if you cannot make it to there physically in Nashville, Tennessee, then please stream, buy a ticket. Please, support us. We need the help and support. This is a grassroots effort, believe it or not. This is not a big capitalistic adventure. This is a spiritual one. So if you can buy a ticket, even if you can't come, you can watch the recording afterwards. If you do come online, you watch live with us. We have a whole commentary section. We have a Zoom room where you can hang out and meet other people like yourself. And we'll have commentary in the middle with our roving reporters. And of course, you'll see the whole show. The show is designed to blow you off your feet and inspire you and support you and love you. There's nothing like it. Give it a try. Let's look at this little example, for instance.
Unite the Light is coming to Nashville, and we're honored to support these local conscious businesses. Join our growing list of high-vibing Nashville sponsors and receive special discounts, incentives, and advertising extras while promoting your light to our attendees. Contact Jenny at adintuitive.com to get started.
Hi, everyone. My name is Crista Marie Miller, and I am so excited. I hold a lot of personal boundaries around channeling, and I really, really hold it with a lot of honor. I have seen spirit my whole life, and I began channeling Mary Magdalene at the age of 7. Step up, live your authentic life, learn your own sovereignty of who you are. Don't base it on what anybody else says. Find your empowerment.
That's a great introduction. Crista Marie Miller is an intuitive medium and voice channeler who's been connecting with spirit since she was 7 years old. What makes her story extraordinary is her work as a channel and researcher for Mary Magdalene, a figure often misunderstood in history, but brought vividly to life through Christa's powerful teachings. Alongside Mary Magdalene, Christa channels divine feminine Christ consciousness and other ancient wisdom keepers, offering a transformative guidance that sparks personal sovereignty and creative power. Today, she will join with us in her insights on Magdalene's true story, her own experiences with spirit guides like Yeshua, which is Jesus if you don't know, Eloise, and how these ancient teachings can ignite to a modern evolution in us all. It's like the ancient wisdom is here through her. So let's send some Reiki applause, shall we, in gratitude to our guest tonight, Crista Marie Miller, who is a Step 20 double Virgo. Welcome. How's that?
That was good. Hi.
Thank you. Well, there we go. Playing sides here. Nice to see you. You're glowing right now. I've noticed you've been glowing the last few times I've seen you.
Yeah, I am. I'm doing really good. Everything's in alignment and moving forward. So I'm excited.
Yes. And when would you say that began, friend? Moving forward just for you, because I have a feeling it's sort of all of us.
It started at the last Unite the Light last year, and working with you and just everything. Just one thing led to another. Myself showing up for myself first, and then for the world. And it's like a red carpet was just rolled out, and it's just it's been a beautiful journey so far.
Oh, I think that's what our enlightenment is, at least for those who've been practicing for 20,000 years, preparing for this moment. Oh, tell us about Unite the Light last year, if you don't mind, like just through, that was the first time it was the first time we'd had it, first of all, but you and I had just barely met at the time, or had we? Not even yet. Did we meet yet at that point?
No, I think that was the first time we met in person. We
Right,
had met a
exactly.
couple times on Zoom, but yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what was that like just for people who are, on the fence?
It was I've been in the spiritual community for a long, long time, and the Unite the Light energy was something like I've never experienced before. It was more of a unification than a separation.
Mm.
Even in the spiritual community, sometimes there can be like pods of different people, but this one, it was just an all coming together, all in one, and celebrating of each other instead of competition. So it was quite glorious.
Mm. Thank you.
Mhm.
And yes, I agree. You bring up an interesting point. We don't feel any competition. That's the thing about our industry. We have no, well, I won't say never, but there's not jealousy. There's not competitive stuff. If anyone's an empath, which most of them are, we all know. Like, it's an amazing little insight into like where you all just know each other. And as a result, I spoke to everyone equally. There was no cliques or hierarchies in that sense.
Yeah, totally. And there was, again, it was almost a simpatico where I even remember talking with people that they were having like similar dreams the night before. And
Wow.
it was like we were all just like this soul family reuniting. And it was like, oh, yeah, I know you. Like, I don't know where, but I know you. So it's a homecoming. It really is.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. And you met someone just that you've ended up working with, right? I mean, projects grew from it.
It did. Yeah. Big projects that will change my life. Totally.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah, it's you don't realize you can go excuse me, we can go and hire a TV crew right now, or in Hollywood so many people want to work, in other industries besides their own in TV and film. But the truth of the matter is like it's really hard to find someone in that world, professional TV, who's also got one foot in our world,
Right.
to understand, so we don't have to explain things. So, to come to a group of people where you could work with all of them, they all get it. They all speak the same language. It's like, whoa, holy crap. Here's where the people I've been needing this whole time,
Mhm.
So that's also a great benefit. This year, you're on a super panel. We're trying something really cool. I've been, kind of keeping you in my back pocket for the most amazing moment, when people could handle it too. And on this panel, just put out, we're doing it. The question is, will Earth survive? Which is redundant. We know it will not. No, just kidding. We know it will. And but we're bringing in 3 different groups, basically of spiritual dimensions, really. We have, the high aliens, the Palladians with Wendy Kennedy. And then we have Archangel Metatron coming in. I'm going blanking all of a sudden his name. Because we've got Rob Gauthier. It's his last name that I'm trying to always do right. And then we have Mary Magdalene coming in through you. So first of all, have you ever been on a panel where you were just in spirit the whole time, talking to other people in spirit?
No, never. And I'm so excited. And I had to clear it through Magdalene first. And she's
Okay.
like, "Oh, this will be interesting."
Oh, so she was intrigued.
She was
Wow.
like, yeah, she was like this, yeah. And she has worked with the Palladians before and Metatron. So it's like she was already familiar, but obviously never in public and on camera before. So yeah, it's 3 very strong, distinct personalities that I think will be very lively talk for sure.
I think so too. I mean, I'm just curious if we're gonna have to keep Mary from interrupting. Mary, please, this isn't Jesus. You've got to keep it in there.
She's very opinionated.
Yeah,
She speaks more with her face and her mannerisms than like she's
oh,
but if you'll like, there's no hiding her emotions from her face. It's kind of funny. Very, very different than me too, which is fascinating.
yeah. I mean, like with the three of them getting in a food fight, like I'm just kind of curious, like, or they talk old stories, like I remember the time in Andromeda when you know, like I don't even know.
I don't know.
They all do. They're all colleagues, and they all, of course, you know. First of all, you have to watch it to believe it. I mean, it's one of those things where I suspended belief until I saw it, and then when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. You know, it's like my mind had to wrap around that this is actually real. This is over. That's just Christa. I mean, every time I've gone to a medium, I was having that skepticism, but when the intelligence and the different perspective of another species comes out of your friend, who up until then we've been just talking about stuff like Wendy's, you know, whatever, like keeping it simple. You're like, whoa, like, and know stuff about you. It's just so interesting. So. I actually had to I'll take the credit for this panel because I thought it'd just be compelling. Like, wouldn't it be cool? I want to hear what they have to say with each other, you know, and the idea that we're now, and this is what I was saying in the open, you're the sharpest medium I've ever met, really. Like, Wendy, to her credit too, with the Palladians, extremely sharp, but like I've dialed up different souls in heaven with you and Mary Magdalene and others, and I'm not saying the others can't, I'm just saying I've just been amazed at, it's almost like dialing a phone call and calling someone dead.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. And it's, I have found that, you know, the people I've dialed up in heaven for you, the more I interact with them, the more they start showing up for me and the more personality I get with them. And so it just really gets more and more colorful and more enriched the more I work with them. So, but thank you. Thank you for that compliment. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, and so, you know, I'm already a believer, y'all. I mean, Crista Marie works with us at Sirius Joy. She channels a show with us with Mary Magdalene, Sovereign. So I'm thinking about Sovereign Revolution. Sorry, the R always hesitate on. And I had a chance of talking to Mary through you at one time in the house here, and blew me away. You know, as far as how just blew me away. Now I'm real curious. Like, where do you see this going for you? You know, because you're not, you know, unlike Bashar, who's great, but that's just he's a one Bashar note. You know, you seem to have a broader perspective. Do you know, and can you see where this is going?
I do. I have a very clear vision. I've had this since I was really young. And it's really hard for me to hold so much back because there's levels of my release of information that I have been instructed to do. But I see it going all the way to, you know, mixing of the quantum with the spirituality. And I have created a whole new system that takes human design, you know, gene keys, Kabbalah, all these 8 different modalities, Kemetic studies, which is Egyptian studies, and combining them into one. And I'm calling it the Sovereign Essence Map. And I want to create like a multimedia interactive live stage show that will probably start on YouTube first, but eventually I want to travel the world with this. So that's what I'm leading up to. And also multiple books. I have one that's completed and will be published, I know, next year. And I have at least 4 or 5 books already lined up that I'm prepping for and writing. So a lot of research writing. So many good things. And I want a show. I want stage show. Whatever the universe wants for me, bring it on.
So what would you describe your purpose to be in essence?
My purpose is to help other people find their sovereign purpose. You know, everybody understands that, like, there's so many programs out there that says, let me help you find your soul purpose. But it's not an easy task. It's not like, oh, I can do this in 1 week. The program I've created takes about 1.5 years of really deep study and constantly testing. That's another thing that people don't talk about is, you know, try on different hats, try on different possibilities, because one soul purpose can have, you know, 30 different facets to it. So it's finding which correct frequency is in alignment with you at the right time in your life to express that soul purpose. And I think that's what my specialty is that I see unique patterns around people, and I start connecting the dots of where they're at right now and how they can move forward.
And how to move forward.
Yeah.
And it seems to be like when you're learning a lot of modalities, a lot of times you're catching up with past life knowledge. right?
Hmm.
Like you're picking up past life knowledge, you're being remembering that. You spend a whole lifetime doing, runes or something, and so they come back to you, and then it's kind of boring, and then you move on to the next thing. So it sounds like your program is sort of like exploring and educating at the same time. When would you imagine someone would start something like that?
Start studying it as soon as you hear about it because it is a lifelong study. Magdalene and I are literally, I really feel a lot of these modalities are masculine oriented with
Yeah.
masculine language. And so Magdalene and I are quite literally rewriting all 8 of these modalities with her language and putting it into the heroine's journey instead of the hero's journey,
I
of
love
bringing in that divine feminine into these modalities. So it'll still work if, like, traditional human design or traditional gene, it'll still work. But then let's add in this divine feminine aspect of not so much softer, but more direct, more saying, okay, this is how I do it, but you don't have to do it alone. That's what's so beautiful about the heroine's journey is that, yes, there's a separation from the feminine at the beginning, but along the path, as you are fighting those ogres and dragons, you are creating a community around you. Like Harry Potter is a perfect example of the heroine's journey. He did not do that alone. He built a community around him in order to do that. And that's what this is different is that I am preparing people for the transition into 2027 when we begin to create these pentas or these pods of people that are around us, that you will know what your sovereign purpose in that penta is. And that's what we are really creating. My husband is a certified human design reader, and he talks about, we moved from this tribal supposedly going into an individual aspect, but I see it as sovereign is moving the individual aspect back into the tribal,
Yes.
sharing your own unique voice within the tribe. Because in the past, it's always been conform, everybody's the same. And now it's like, we're past that. We're ready for your sovereign voice.
Okay, that's fascinating. So it's more like in the age of Aquarius, it's about individuality and the unique shape of your crystal and your special talents, and everyone's loved because no two people are alike and they all have gifts. And so you're saying the sovereign, self is the part of you that is the uniqueness of you, which I find comes down to your heart's choices of what you love more. Like at the end of the day, it's like go with what you love more is the fractal of who you are, and it may not fit everyone's shape, but it certainly has often a very alluring shape. When you find the part of yourself that you love the most, people love it too. So
You
it's a
do.
win-win. Yeah. So tell us what it's like to be a channel for Mary Magdalene. Like, what's it like inside of you, literally? To walk a day in your shoes. Are you about to go potty and she's like interrupting you for the soap? I mean,
No. I have, ever since I was young, I have a very strict meditation
mm,
cycle where I meditate in the morning and then at night. And so those are my distinct times where my spirit team can come in and talk with me. And sometimes those meditation are 5 minutes, sometimes they're 2 hours. So I give grace and time for them to speak their minds. But throughout the day, I mean, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I run my own business, so I don't have time to constantly be talking. And like, see, like Magdalene, like itches my nose whenever she wants to say something. And so there's cues that spirit gives me when they want to come through. And I have the sovereign choice whether to say yes or no. And so it's like this energy that it kind of like taps on my shoulder, but it's not insistent. She's very respectful, very and also she sometimes just does that just to remind me I'm here, because I can get wrapped up in life. I'm not intuitive about myself at all. And so I have to go through the daily life. And so it's really nice that each one of my spirit team gives me a different physical signal just to remind me like I'm here or there's something I have to say. And then it's my choice whether to tap in or not.
hmm. It's like rings the doorbell. Ding
Basically,
dong.
yeah.
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 Okay.
Yep. So each one's a little different.
What's weird is they seem to be listening to everything we say. Like, like are we just on a radio up there in heaven? There's like listen to us like a radio show. It's like they seem very, but they also seem like they can be in many places at once. These types of channeling aspects. Why has Mary shared with you like why you, why now? I mean, a lot of her, she was quite a creator. It seems like. I mean, a huge part of the Jesus package, was
Yes.
her like creating curriculum. It sounds like she created curriculum and structure behind him and like for him kind of thing where he was like focused on the actual lesson. It seemed like she had the curriculum. Am I correct in feeling that way? I mean, what was her role?
Not in a way. So she came from a wealthy family. She came from the line of Benjamin. And so her dad was an extremely wealthy landowner. And and they owned land in northern Jerusalem, Magdala, Bethany, and so when he passed, she got the land in Magdala or Migdal, and that's how she got her name. So through her father, she was extremely wealthy. She didn't have to work, and she just wanted to study. And so, a lot of misunderstandings is that Magdalene was a priestess. My definition of a priestess is an individual who goes into a single temple and studies there the rest of her life. For me, that's not Magdalene. She went from temple to temple to temple. She studied with the Essenes. She did study in Isis temple. She studied in so many different types of modalities because her father was able to basically pay her in. But then once she showed up, she was able to hold her own with the other men. And they really respected that because she knew how to read, she knew how to write, she knew how to debate. And so her knowledge and her expertise in all these different modalities she was able to hold her own. And so by the time that she actually got romantically involved, and yes, she was married to Yeshua, people, let's move on. But before that, she had done so much study, and it was interesting that his study, when he was gone for those missing years, really complemented her. It was almost like they were checking in the ethers of like, I'll study this and you'll study that. And so when they came together, it was like click, 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 and everything just fell into place. So I 100% do not, I know this for a fact, and I'm getting scientific evidence that Yeshua would not have been able to resurrect without Magdalene's help.
Wow. That's fascinating. And now, of course, we want to know why. So first of all, I don't mean to take it away to Jesus, but he was resurrected. That is official.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so my understanding of Yeshua's main lesson, he did not die for our sins. That was not the purpose. And this is actually said in Magdalene's gospel, in one of the Gnostic gospels of Magdalene. It says, and one of the people asked Yeshua, like, teacher, tell us the meaning of sin. And Yeshua answers, there is no sin. It is you who make sin exist when you act against your corrupted nature. And it is this and that's a whole teaching upon itself.
Wow. Yeah.
But the reason why he needed to be crucified, and Magdalene always says, because there's some, research out there that possibly he survived the crucifixion. And one of Magdalene's favorite sayings is when I asked her, I'm like, when I first heard that, I'm like, wait, did Yeshua not die on the cross? And she's like, yes and no. It's an and universe. And I'm like, so that's her favorite saying. It's an and universe. So it's like, where is your timeline? What does your timeline say? What does your research say? And that's why Magdalene's all interested about sovereignty. But anyway, back to Yeshua dying on the cross for the main reason. There was before Yeshua died on the cross, we would die, our soul would exit the body, and we would be wandering around in the dark. This is why the Egyptians had so many death rituals, why there were, it took days to prepare the body, and then, in order to go into the duat, which was heaven for Egyptian. So what was going on was the soul was wandering around the dark. My spirit guide, Eloise, says it's like they were wandering and looking for a switch light. So Magdalene and Yeshua was like, well, there's something, there has to be a better way to help people find heaven or the other side. And so when they came together with their teachings and learned it was all about the light body. The soul's not actually what we take with us into heaven. It is the light body. And the light body is what they needed to strengthen. And so through different modalities, they learned how to strengthen Yeshua's light body so strong that when he did die on the cross, and in my reality and timeline, he did die on the cross, but he died on the cross in order to pave a way for us to go to heaven. He created that light. When you say, I saw a light at the end of the tunnel, he literally created that with his light body.
Wow.
And that was one of the main reasons why he needed to pass on the cross. And at that time, and I mean, this is a whole lesson we could do too, but there was a unique astrological alignment that was happening at that exact time. And so this was all predetermined, predestined. Judas did not rat him out. Yeshua asked Judas to turn him in because this all needed to happen at this right exact moment. So
wow. So before that, we died and we just wandered around for a while, figuring out where the fuck's heaven? Where is it?
Mhm. Like,
And
what are we doing here?
so did ghosts mostly wander and not see the light? I mean, and what, before you answer that, it's like, what? So they're just sitting around in an ancient time when you don't have electricity and you like put goat's blood on the door twice a year so you feel good. And these two are saying, you know what Earth needs? A pathway to heaven. Yep, that's what they need. So they just decide to go cooking off and thinking about that. I mean, that's a major God light work. That's even above Earth. That's so high up. That's like ascended master talk.
Well, they were both ascended masters coming down into this body.
Oh, they already ascended.
This was part of their path and part of their, yeah. I mean, both of them came from the royal lines. And so, and this, I'm doing research back onto the families of Yeshua's side and Magdalene's side. This union of Magdalene, of the line of David and the line of Benjamin coming together was a major event and had been prophesized for hundreds of years. So
Okay.
this was predestined, and they both knew their role. Unfortunately, they didn't know that it would end so gruesome, but it like, again, in my timeline reality, that's what it was.
Wow, that's fascinating. I never considered them to be already ascended and then coming back and playing kind of a little trick on us in a way as a means of a stage or a play to show us. Because ascended masters do that. They actually do come back. They play other roles. They come back into history. They play roles in history you wouldn't even know of. And because they're trying to architect Earth toward that enlightenment.
Yeah.
And influence others. It's an influencer. They're the old school influencers.
Totally. And I do also believe that, they did have to go through their process of remembering who they were.
Mhm. Okay.
It wasn't just like instant enlightenment. And that's why they studied so much. Like, we do not talk about how much they researched and read and studied, but they did. It wasn't just like they automatically knew how to do all these things. They really tested things and tested theories and practiced and put the work in.
They're like the original light workers, really. I mean,
Totally.
since Atlantis. I mean, Atlantis
Well,
and tested a lot of stuff. But a lot of that was technology and earth-based and metaphysical, not actually spiritual. And it seems like these two sort of downloaded a lot of spiritual stuff like we have, and that, yeah, fascinating.
Well, they got a lot of this information from Atlantean times because they both spent a lot of time in Egypt, which was the Atlanteans came to Egypt. We have Thoth and all the Emerald tablets and all that stuff. But they studied a lot in the, ancient alien Atlantean, Lemurian lineages, and they found temples that were actually teaching this stuff at that time.
Wow.
So they, yeah.
And, just to see how far she goes, like you have gone to the France, put Magdalene out, and then she's giving you tours, right? Does she turns into a tour guide? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We're walking.
We
Come
are.
on, Yeshua. Come on, we're walking.
So that's kind of one of my blessings from Unite the Light was a producer, Jacqueline Schulman. She is doing a documentary on me, and I went to film school, and I've always said, there's a lot of talk out there, and I always said I will believe it when a film crew's in front of me. Well, she put it together in like less than a month, and she had a film crew follow me around southern France for all of August last year. And yeah, we filmed, and she was a skeptic at first, Jackie, my producer, and she but then she was like, there came a point where there was just this blend of Magdalene and Christa, and it was like they almost couldn't tell them apart. And so but Magdalene would be like, okay, now we're going here, and this is what I did here, and then I would come. And I love this about Magdalene is that she lets me teach, and she lets me bring in my 2 cents. So it's like 30% Magdalene, 70% me, and I find that really honorable. Is that I've put the work in too. I research too, and so I have a say in the manner, and I have more to add. But she was literally walking us around, and we're going to do that in Egypt, hopefully in a year or two too. So that will be really good. Really good. Like, I can't wait to talk about and go into the frequencies and tones and all that. Like, it's going to be so good.
What freaks me out is you can literally tap into a dead person and have them come through and then give you some tour of something they know about that no one else knows about. It's like, why hasn't like Egypt figured this out yet? You know, it's like they still think the pyramids are tombs. It's like, or they don't. It's a big cover up. But it's like, you know, and even the FBI uses, you know, remote viewing. Like, why are we not just calling up these people in heaven and finding out the answers?
I, Fear and control. That's all I can say. That's
Yeah.
why fear and control. They don't want the secrets out there. It's because, you know, if we're all levitating with our minds, and what's use for all these other things that are so mundane and 3D. But the technology's there. I've witnessed things in Egypt that literally defy gravity.
Yeah. I
So
mean, each of those pyramid stones, right? Like, was not was levitated by sound, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, frequency and tone. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, I have seen people tone within the Great Pyramid, and the stones literally melt. And
Wow.
like, I saw one that actually, like, kind of almost vibrated out, and I was like, I was holding my breath, and then because there's a specific tone within Arabic men, that they can do, and it literally it's fascinating to see. And at first, because it's hot and it's humid up there in the Great Pyramid, and I'm like, well, maybe this is, and then I, Virgo brain, I focused in more. I'm like, no, this is not, this is actually happening. And then the instant they stopped toning, it went, and I was like,
Hmm.
and went back to normal. I'm like, and then they're like,
Wow.
"That's how we built the pyramids." I'm like, "Okay."
Okay. You know what? There's a resonance frequency. You know, there's like a famous
Mhm.
film of a bridge that's like, and a windstorm was like, had transverse waves going through it. So, you know, pure metal was just doing like totally grooving like that. And it's because there's a natural frequency to everything. And if you play a sound that's at the natural frequency, the frequency just surrenders to you, no matter
Yeah.
how hard it is. We know this. We've seen it in science. So it makes perfect sense, actually, that you can find that frequency of stone or anything.
And
Yeah.
we have that unique frequency within us. And
Mm.
so that's what my unique teaching about the 12 consciousness fields is that each frequency holds, I mean, each field holds a certain frequency. And once you know your own sovereign frequency, that's what starts to unlock your soul purpose. So,
Right. Wow. Okay.
mhm.
That's an excellent stopping point. We have to take in here from our blessings and our sponsors. We come back. Let's start there with the soul purpose idea and frequency. The Unite the Light Lightworker Summit is reborn in 2025, May 17th to the 19th, reincarnating in Nashville, Tennessee, the capital of country music light. If you live to make the world a better place, we invite you to gather and co-create for 2 days. Day 1, meet curated, heartfelt influencers sharing strategies and innovation. Day 2 calls for conscious conversations. Lightworker power panelists discuss industry urgent topics. And for the first time, you requested, we co-created a third day, a 36-hour, ultra-private, closed-door Whisper Summit. We call it Afterglow, where 2 or more gather, featuring high-wattage leaders of light who share unpublished career advice and trade secrets. It all takes place in the luxurious Gaylord Opryland Hotel, where you may enjoy a full spa, poolside drinks, and tasty dining. And don't miss our Honky Tonk Sumper and Step Networking event happening Saturday night. Wear cowboy attire, feast, and learn Astro secrets about you and cosmic allies. Consider this an invitation. Let us celebrate our ascension at the brightest gathering of love in the world. Ticket sales are open now at unitethelight.love. That's unitethelight.love. Welcome back to the Mingle. I am here this week with Crista Marie Miller, the best damn channel you've ever seen, and I think one of the exclusives of Mary Magdalene. And we were talking about just now how ultimately life purpose. It seems like Mary and yourself's work, and I give her I agree, it's cool, in the sense that you are a partner with her. You're not like with all respect, Bashar. Like, it seems like he's always at the beck and command, kind of, of that particular entity. And this is a different story. And it seems like one of the big things that you're trying to put out is this idea of the sovereign, and I guess that means the idea of self-realization, and with self-realization, purpose. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, what is purpose really? I mean, you hear that word, but it makes sense. We all agree to it. But what is it actually in the architecture of, the company of heaven and how we incarnate?
So a person's purpose doesn't always necessarily have to mean career.
Hmm.
Sometimes it meant like you were supposed to be a mom, or you were supposed to be, heal the planet, heal the grid work of the planet. There's so many different purposes. And when you start tapping into the frequency of your own unique frequency and own unique consciousness fields, which is connected with, I heavily use the 64 gates in the I Ching.
Hmm.
And I also have now combined the 64 gates with the 64 netters or Egyptian gods and goddesses in with that, because that's how we can start tapping in. The Egyptian, so they were never gods or goddesses. They were called netters or neteru. They were forces of nature, energies. Like Isis is an energy we can work with. Osiris is an energy that we can work with. It's not that they are higher than us and that we need to be worshiping them. No, let's bring on their attributes and embody them and allow their frequency to resonate within us in order for us to do the same type of work that they did. So we can literally use them for our benefit.
So are these? But these are personalities. These are entities.
Mm-mm.
No, they're not.
No.
So they're just like forces of spiritual nature.
Yes, like earth, fire, water. They were a force
Uh,
of nature. Again, the Romans and Greeks started putting personalities on them because they started mixing them in with their own gods and goddesses. These old school that Magdalene learned and Yeshua learned were forces of nature. So like, the wind and spirit and metal, and yeah. So that's what they are. They're not personalities.
hmm. Well, that makes sense in the sense of like Jupiter, Sagittarius, states of awareness, and
You got
uh,
it.
archetypes. A lot of personality in them. However, the energy itself being a literal energy, frequency, vibration, right?
Correct.
So yeah, interesting. And so the goal is to what? Is to understand all of yourself, all your uniqueness, and then what?
Yeah. So once you understand this, what I'm calling the sovereign essence map and this blueprint of who you are, and seeing all these facets of you, once you start researching who you are, there will be distinct patterns that start lining up for you, and paths and pathways for you to start navigating your own understanding of who you are. This is a very individual journey. This is why this is coming forward in Aquarian age. This is your own task. And when you get stuck, of course, there's going to be guides and teachers there to help you get onto, open the next door. Because I'm a strong believer, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And
Mm,
that is shown time and time again, because what happens is when you reach a certain level of understanding, there's a different frequency vibration that comes out. And then what's going on is that when you start resonating and connecting and remembering parts of who you are and putting yourself back together, you're going to start resonating at a different frequency. Have you ever come out of a very strong meditation and you've had this spiritual shift? You are literally glowing. And I mean, you say that I'm glowing. It's because there's just been a huge shift in the past 2 months of me putting all these puzzle pieces together. And I'm like,
mm,
oh, that's who I am. That's my purpose. And
mm,
now it's starting to call in the correct people who are going to help me. But I
mhm.
do strongly believe that's why I got a degree in hypnotherapy. We got to bring it in from the subconscious into the conscious and start calling it out by name. And we can call it out by name by working with these netters, and they can actually help us. And the netter root help us go out and get it. And I've it's huge shifts within myself. And I'm a big believer. I'm going to test it for myself before I start putting it out there publicly. Test and keep on testing. And that's why I'm a huge, like, you just keep questioning. Like, I am the biggest skeptic. And I think that's what makes me such a good medium, because I basically test myself and be like, okay, is this true? And I try to debunk everything before I go to the spiritual.
Hmm.
But I love my
Double Virgo.
life.
Yeah, double
Very
Virgo. She
Virgo.
does.
Yeah.
Well, all we see is what you've what you've agreed with. So I wonder how much is under investigation right now. And you also have been a person who's done a lot of historical, research to sort of put these things together. Um,
Yes.
Now, what do you think Mary is trying to say at this time? I mean, we'll talk about this on the panel, of course. Our panel is talking about Earth at this moment, but without giving it away, what does Mary feel like is most important for people now? What's your work focused on now?
Right now, I am focused on understanding the activation and strengthening of the light body,
Okay.
and how it plays into your unique frequency pattern,
Mm,
because one way that works how I strengthen my light body is not going to be the same for you.
okay.
And so that's what I'm really focused on, of understanding that and testing it out.
And so you've talked about it already, but the light body is like it's that. Well, ultimately, we've seen it like in in with gurus in India. There's been examples they've stepped out of their body, they appear in front of. It's very much like you see in Star Wars when Obi-Wan comes back glowing.
Right.
We apparently can have this glowing version of us that is right on the skin of our version of who we are in our body, right?
Mhm.
At some point, you learn. Humans can learn to step out of the human flesh body and just step out in light body.
Yes.
What's the architecture? Is it literally like Russian dolls, or stacking on top of each other?
So okay, here we go, quantum. I believe that the light body is photons that have been put together in a unique way for your unique pattern, and the neutrinos that are coming from the sun that are passing through us trillions at a time, that it is that the neutrinos are the little packets of information that are coming into the photonic energy of our bodies, and
Hmm.
that's our light body, and that's how we're hearing spirit. And so that's how we different areas are activating within us. And so what the light body is, the light body starts about at the eighth consciousness field, and goes 8 all the way to 12 and beyond. So the light body it's different than our soul or our spirit.
Okay.
The soul is like a vessel that we are utilizing right here, right now. That is, it's in the breastplate and goes about 3 feet out. We learned through, our light family, our spirit family, and aliens, light beings, sorry, light being family. They don't like the word aliens, that's derogatory.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
that's what everybody knows about them for. But the light being family, we understand that when a soul could not, our spirit could not come down into this galaxy. It could not incarnate into the body. So souls had to be created. But in between the soul and the spirit is the nous. And that is basically the outer casing of the light body. And the light body is what we can physically hold form and actually interact with other light beings, because that is our true form. We are pure light. When that spark of the divine happened, that was our light body, and the light body can't fully come in, so we have to learn how to strengthen it. And this is part of the reason why I feel that we forget, because we there's been these veils that were placed in between our consciousness fields that
Mm,
helped us. They thought we were being protected by creating these veils,
mhm.
and in a sense we were, because look what happened in Atlantean time. We went off the rails because we became creator gods and goddesses way too
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
So this time they're like, we gotta slow them down a little, because we got so they put these veils in to help us. But now we're back into this time of like this remembering, like when Isis helped Osiris put himself back together, they were remembering and putting all the pieces back together to make a person whole. And that's what strengthens our light body, because our light body is what's taken with us after life, not our soul, but our light body. Our light body is, so like, I have made the decision, when if I'm going to interact with another light being here in the physical flesh, I'm not going to do it with my 3D body. I've decided to do it with my light body instead, because that's a whole other story. But that's but that's my own sovereign choice. Because I decided not to work in that capacity, but I will utilize my light body. And also, this is different than astral projection or using
Okay.
a Merkaba, because astral projection and Merkaba is you actually using your soul and your spirit in order to do this. This is your light body. A lot of people could see this, the light body, as the an aspect of your higher self
Mhm.
or the oversoul, I guess.
Mhm.
But it is the energy that is produced off of the oversoul, off of the spirit. So does that make sense? So your light body is just pure energy.
Hmm. But it takes the form of you, and you say, does it always
Loosely.
go to heaven with this? It always goes to heaven. It
Oh
seems like
yeah. Well,
okay.
no, it goes way beyond heaven. The heaven is just, again, heaven is part of this Earth galaxy.
Mm.
Other planets, they outside of this galaxy, they don't have heavens. They don't need them.
Oh.
So
Mm.
our soul goes in and out.
Mm. During
And
life,
so what was that?
During life, it does, like day to day,
It can during life, but in order to have multiple human lives, it will go and experience these human lives because the spirit was not able to come into the body, so the soul was created to handle these heavier densities. Earth is one of the lowest vibrational planets out there, and so in order just to survive and experience emotions, because emotions are unique to this planet too, in order to experience that, we had to create a vessel in order to experience it, and that's what the soul is.
Wow, so the soul's like a scuba suit.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Never looked at it that way, but that's pretty interesting. And the fact that it's kind of dangerous, I guess, for a true being to just be directly connected to it. That's just too dangerous. Too much, too
Yeah.
deep of a frequency for jump or something.
It's just not possible. And that's literally why there's this another kind of, so we have the first veil in between us and heaven, but then we have a second veil that is called the nous, or the nous body, Nous, and
Hmm.
that is kind of like a buffer zone in between our soul and our spirit.
Is a noose. That
Yeah.
word's interesting, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's where it comes from.
So it's like a transformer, I guess, where it's bringing the energy down into a frequency that is able to come down into the soul, which is then able to come down into the temporal body.
Ah, this process. And is it conscious, this noose? I mean, is it like an umbilical sac that gets thrown away after the incarnation? Like,
Ooh, that's a good question. I've never been asked that. Hang on, let me
I'm just curious now.
ask. What happens? It gets reabsorbed back into. So the soul eventually gets reabsorbed back up into the spirit along with the nous. So yeah, it is. It is. It's not thrown away. Nothing's ever thrown away, but it is. Yeah, it's reabsorbed back up in.
Wow, interesting. So, where do people, I guess, the question is, where do you start? I mean, I think a lot of people see you and they're like, whoa, like, not in a thousand lifetimes, but really a lot of this is within reach, right? A
It
lot.
is.
That,
This is where you come in, and you have taught me so much of how to. Okay, let's bring this all in. Let's reel this in, Krista. It starts with your sovereignty pillars, and it really, it starts. My understanding of why Magdalene brought me to you and Sirius Joy is that it starts with your sovereignty pillars and your step astrology. That's where you start,
wow.
because it's this, you have to understand, all the tools that you've come in with the tool belt from all your past lives,
Mm,
and then your emotions, and the sovereignty pillars helps with the emotions, and the step astrology, I feel, helps with your tools and your tool belt.
mm,
And so that's where you start understanding your step astrology and your sovereignty pillars, and that's what you can do on the sovereign revolution, is Magdalene is, tying those two together.
sweet.
So that's a good place for you to start.
And that is just knowing yourself using the sovereignty pillars model, knowing
Mhm.
yourself using the step system model, which, I can't speak for the pillars completely. I haven't gotten deep as I want to, but I know the step numbers are literally just defining each of those frequencies, defining each of those flavors, defining you, understand the context of how you're different within the world's flavors. And so once you really understand yourself, you can isolate your frequency pretty quickly.
Right.
And so if you're going to turn yourself into a ball of light, you got to know, what note to hit,
You
right?
do. You
Yeah.
do. And, you will know innately, unconsciously what to do, but there's just something special that happens when you do it consciously. It
Mm,
is a whole other awakening that will blow you away.
yeah.
And what the sovereignty pillars help you do is, it helps you because it starts with your emotions. It
Mm,
starts understanding, where is this emotion, where does it place in my body, what definition, what story do I have behind this emotion, and if I need to transmute it, where do I need to transmute it to?
mm, mm.
So it's a daily check-in that you can do with your emotions. It's like, okay, and there's four sovereignty pillars. There's security, trust, safety, and honor. And we move through those. Those are the four bases. And then all other emotions start playing into either a pillar, or they start bouncing in between pillars. And so it's an understanding of, like, I'm so much in guilt right now. Oh, Krista told me to, when I'm in guilt, I need to move into honor. And then I give you how the transitory emotion, where you can move from guilt into honor, is by this understanding of who you are.
Ah, interesting. So it's helping you transmute and clean without a doubt. So it's kind of an ascension tool per se, especially for this time, right?
Yeah. And we're, part of the human existence is to have these lower emotions. And
Mhm.
so, but it's also to understand the lessons behind them. Because if
Mhm.
we don't have the lessons, what's going to happen? We're just going to go right back into utero and do this all over again. So if we can name the emotion, name where it is in the body, and then transmute it, that's where we can begin to understand our own sovereignty and our own unique frequency. And then you can start moving into the 12 consciousness fields.
Okay, got you. And yeah, I agree. I mean, subsystems is similar that the emotional state of awareness is like the most complex, most polluted, least reliable at first because it's just full of all sorts of stuff, full of stuff. And so what is Mary and you, what are people working towards? Is it this 5D dream where we're going to go between realities? Is it simply that we stop fighting?
The ultimate dream is just for everybody to be in a state of love
Yeah.
and understanding and peace. And I do feel very, very soon. I mean, I think we're doing it already, but I think we're going to be becoming intergalactic, um, working with different galactic species
Hmm.
in order to get back into the race again for ascension and understanding. I think once we come back online, and I think we're going to do it so much more wiser this time than we did in Atlantean times,
Okay.
because we're doing it so much more slower.
Yeah.
And we have so much, our star family, they got our backs. I don't see any major explosion or going through any type of World War III or anything like that because we're already working with them.
Hmm.
And I mean, look at Rob, look at Wendy. Everyone's already starting to say, we're already here. We're already
Right.
communicating.
Right.
So it's listening and moving forward with our own sovereignty.
Yes, what you speak of seems to be true. In fact, I look forward to seeing Palladians and Mary Magdalene dialogue. From what I've heard from a lot of people on that side, and that's another interesting thing to hear from an entity off the planet, or they're on the planet but not really. It's so fascinating because of the way they look at us, usually lovingly and like children, but also patient. And but it seems that there indeed is galactic awareness coming any second now, and I've already seen it coming to my work, like not trying, but just it is. It's like that opinion of our galactic brothers and sisters is like a big deal now.
It so
You know,
is.
yeah, and they help craft us. I mean, what do you know about Earth and its creation?
My favorite topic.
Oh, really?
This is where we get into my Hathor or Hathor.
Mm,
She is an Egyptian netter, and she was part. So all the netters are aspects of different star families. I feel I haven't gotten too much into the research, but I do know gutturally that each one brought in a different flavor
mm,
of this netter energy. And so Hathor actually kind of stood out alone. She was really not part of any of these primal families of Egypt. And so she I have worked with Hathor many, many lifetimes off planet. When I was little, I saw her way before I did Magdalene. I always called her Sister Mother Hathor, but I
mm,
decided not to channel Hathor because she is. I've heard her talk twice in my life. She's mostly telepathic,
mm,
and she mostly experiences us through emotions. And so, but she came in, she was one of the star families that I'm going to keep this G rated. She helped create us to experience pleasure, and in order to get us into flow state. So she
mm.
manipulated our DNA in order for us to experience pleasure on the highest levels. And we need to get into flow state in order to strengthen our light body. And so that's what Hathor, her star family, did for the planet. And
It's
so,
like a
yeah.
spiritual aphrodisiac. Is that what she is? She's like basically making it more
Sure.
pleasurable. So joygasm is like taking you to other dimensions before it just kind of took you
Now
out.
now because they noticed, Hathor and the star families noticed that when they began to manipulate our DNA, we weren't evolving, we weren't ascending, we weren't. It was like we would get so far and then that would be it. And they're like, what are they missing? And when they tapped in, they're like, oh, they're not tapping into their light body. How can we get them past this veil into their light body. Like we don't want to remove the veils because we see what
Mm.
happens. So how can we get them past those veils into strengthening their light body? And the quickest way for humans was through, orgasm. I mean,
Oh,
that was the quickest way in order to get us there. But Magdalene told me once that we should be having up to 7 orgasms a day, and I'm like, "Excuse me?" But she said there's different types. There's mental
oh,
orgasms. So, like, when I go and figure something out, it's like that boom, aha moment. That's
yeah.
me getting into flow and strengthening my light body.
Okay.
When I paint, that's flow, that's strengthening our light body. So that's what Hathor did for us.
Wow. I call them joygasms.
Joygasms. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. If I'm not naked. Fascinating. And so this
Yeah.
is like just the elation of being alive and being connected to spirits. And so
Yeah.
my understanding, it seems like you're backing it up, is that we have a galactic beginning. We were created from the DNA of several species.
Mhm.
Species are at war, and we were thought as if they put all the species at war into one being, that somehow that being in itself would solve some of the problems of conflict, is what I've heard. Have you heard that too?
It's close. Yeah, very, very close. That, let's create a melting pot of all these different species and see what happens. I mean, this is an experimental planet, is what this is.
Clearly.
Let's kind of, mess around and see what shows up and what happens. And I do think this is our, third or fourth take at this. Like we've kind of destroyed the planet a couple of times and they've recreated it. And that's through Magdalene's teachings, is like, okay, but this time I think we're good. I don't think we're gonna mess
We're
up.
like on Earth 5 or something, so you're saying? Like,
Sounds like yeah, depending on which timeline you land on, I oscillate between 3 and 5, yeah.
huh,
Yeah.
fascinating. Who would have thought? And so it's really an experiment to grow and be ourselves and experience who we are, right? And
Yeah.
it seems like what's amazing is, the work you're doing is cool. I cannot wait to see where it goes,
Thank you.
because it's literally bringing heaven to earth and the principles of heaven to earth. And it really does, to me, accelerate the whole point of ascension. Is that working together with spirits. That's some weird realm that you get to when you die.
No.
You know,
Yeah. They're
and
they're right here, right now, helping us out, our whole spiritual team.
what's in it for them? I guess my last question.
Oh, their own ascension.
Okay.
So, we come into human life and then, we have a spiritual team that consists of, like, if I turn on my spirit eyes, there's like 10, 15 beings, entities, energies around each person. And so you gain experience by becoming a spirit guide. The more times you're a spirit guide, the more times you're a human, then you elevate into ascendant, or master teacher, and then ascended master, because those are two different levels. And so it's like Magdalene, oh, she does not like the word levels. She's like, we're not leveling up. This is a natural growth pattern. You are all going to become creators and creatrixes. This is what this earth planet is here for. If you decide to go a different route, that's your sovereign choice. But most of the beings on this planet will eventually become creators and creatrixes
What's the
themselves.
creatrix? That's a word.
Creatrix, female creator.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. With a kind of an X sound, huh?
Yes, creatrix. Mhm.
Huh. And I guess I got washed away with women, like that kind of thing. And as we pushed away, I mean, I'm not sure. I'd love to hear from Mary. Like, why did women get pushed down, so harshly from basically before her time, even, and only now is divinely being allowed up? That's a strange phenomenon, really.
Um, because there were times, in Avalon time, divine feminine was strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually just did this channeling. That Merlin was a unified, like, he was solo man against all these women who were powerful creatrixes, and here's Merlin, like, trying, like, hey, I got power too. So it was like this, the divine masculine was being overpowered by the divine feminine. So we have done
Mm,
this flip multiple times.
okay.
And so I think that's when it started to churn. And then, especially 2000 years ago, Yeshua and Magdalene were trying to say, hey, we can be united, we can have both, within us. Magdalene was more masculine and Yeshua was more feminine.
Seems
And
like
they're
it.
like, look at us, we can do this, and you can too, because you have both within you. I think that's ultimately where earth really needs to understand, is that we are both divine masculine and feminine within us, and balancing it out. And if we can all come together, like, have our two aspects here and our two aspects here with our divine partner coming together with a 4, that's strength.
Oh yeah, and also, our true nature. I think a lot of that's happened this last lifetime where we're finally starting to chill out. I remember Venus and Mars. It's like we both have both planets, and you can tell like masculine people had lots of Mars, and more feminine people had more Venus. It was like plain as day. What's that astrology sort of map it out for us? Well, we have got to go in a minute, but I want to make sure everyone can start working with you right away. Of course, it'll be on Night Light, which will be on a Sunday, May 19th. But you are also available to study with online. Where should we go to find out more?
I'm really easy to find. Crista Marie Miller across most platforms. That's my website, everything. But I'm also offering a free frequency color course. Color. So I grew up not being able to see auras, and everybody could see auras. I was like, what's this aura thing? And then finally a teacher came along and said, Christa, color is frequency. You can see frequency, right? I'm like, right. They're like, well, let's match the frequencies up with the color. And then when I did that, my whole world expanded again. And so I learned how to work with color in order to manifest, in order to get clear on my life. I use different color frequencies in order to do different aspects. And so I'm offering a free color class for everyone to come and try it out. Right now, I mean, you can book a reading with me, but I am booked out pretty far in advance. So you can always book a reading with me, but you'll have to wait. So this is a way to get in and to meet with me sooner.
And very cool. I mean, who knew that? Frequencies and color obviously go together, but I had never thought of that. Like, if you then paint a certain picture, you're actually resurrecting and calling up that recipe. And you can really consciously start to learn with using frequency by having it symbolized by color. Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah.
Correct.
And our favorite colors and all that stuff, it usually goes down to frequency. It goes down to that vibe that we love so much. Yeah.
And each one of our consciousness fields has a color and a terahertz and a tone to it. So a musical tone. And so I'm just bringing in one flavor of the color for you guys so you can access your consciousness fields easier.
Yay. Okay. Well, I might sneak in that class.
You're more than welcome.
You won't recognize me.
I think I'll recognize your energy anywhere.
Mary be like, he's trying it again. Sorry, Mary. Can't get past you. Yeah, so funny. We'll stay up for backstage for a minute when we close this up. But thank you so much, Crista Marie, for being on here. I know it's one of many times. Hopefully next time it'll be in person in a studio. That'd be really cool.
I would love that.
I would too. It'd be awesome. All right. We'll see you soon. You guys catch her out, Unite the Light, and everywhere else she is. She also has a, what do you call it? A Patreon as well, if people want to study with you there too.
Oh, yes. I have a lot of teachings there.
There's a myriad of stuff out there with her, and she's just now breaking into her genius. So get her to know her now, because it's going to be a fun career to watch.
Thank you.
See you soon. Bye. Well, friends, that was another great one. Yay! AstroMingle. I'm going to have to go to contact soon. I just cannot take my glasses anymore. They just drive me crazy on camera, if you can't tell. I just want freedom. Energetically, that was great. Crista Marie is amazing, and if you can catch her at Unite the Light, you should. It's the real deal. I had a conversation with Mary Magdalene myself. Mary knows me. Mary knows all of us. It's pretty interesting. It's really interesting, and the work has just begun. I mean, we're not going to say her age, but under 40, and is already tapping like this. Do you understand how this will turn into an incredible elder species? That the people you see all young here and looking good, we're the elders. We're going to be the old people out there that they go to for old stories and stuff. So it's kind of cool to see, Luke and Leia young, right? But I think we're just seeing the beginning. And Galactic is another whole level. Like, aliens are talking through people, y'all, all the time. And this particular panel that you're going to see with her, Crista Marie, I don't think it's ever been done in history. I think we are making history by having entities come in, debate and discuss, write live from many dimensions at once. And the one thing I haven't really said about it is, like, each one of these people got permission. And the humbling part of it was, like, the Palladians were like, we'd love to work with you. And Mary Magdalene was like, yes, we'll work with him and them. And obviously Metatron. So not only these entities coming, they know what they're doing. They know what show they're showing up for. We've been keeping it humble, but like, we really are sponsored by Mary Magdalene, Archangel Metatron, and the Palladians. Really. And they want to be here to help us. So if that doesn't tickle your throat, I don't know what will, my friends. That's all we have for this particular week. Remember to go to unitethelight.love for your tickets, and I'll see you next week for some more Mingle.
Coming up next week on Sirius Joy TV. Leading Out Loud is now prime time. Join co-host Sensei Christopher Witecki and psychic medium Scott Cruz Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Every sign has a purpose in the new era. What's yours? Then, on Friday's AstroMingle, tune in for a sneak peek interview with our final panelists from the Unite the Light, Build the Earth, Survive panel. Featured guest Wendy Kennedy is a prominent channel and spiritual teacher. Her work includes channeling the Pleiadians and utilizing the language of light and galactic light codes to aid others in aligning to higher frequencies. This is not an episode you want to miss. The best in enlightened entertainment, only on Sirius Joy TV.
Hello, I'm Sanandra, founder of CT Organics. For the past 30 years, our goal has been to bring the healing power of plants into your everyday life with simple, clean, organic skin and hair care made with love. From now through May the 4th, we are running a very special promotion for our free 1-hour astrology reading with our beloved Sensei Christopher Witecki. Enter code word I am a winner at checkout and you'll also receive 15% off.
The world is starting to catch on to human design. But what is it? Through combining astrology, the I Ching, the Vedic chakra system, and the Kabbalah, human design provides you with action-oriented strategies to align with your unique energy.
Are you tired of the same old thing? Register today to get a code for 25% off a human design report or a free report with the purchase of a session.
Welcome to the rest of your life. Welcome